Okay, so I saw that there are a lot of developers out here, right? So is my assumption correct? How many developers out here? Most of you, good. So what I saw from today's session is I saw Shailesh, I saw Badri, I saw a whole lot of other speakers talking about the entire complexities that are behind WebRTC, right? So what we really wanted to do is, I really wanted to talk about how do I enable faster development of WebRTC applications, right? How do I enable you guys as developers to quickly, rapidly build solutions using WebRTC, right? So I got two options out here. Now when you start building any solutions, you can either put it on your on-prem data center or you can think about cloud. So what I'm going to do in this session is primarily talk about WebRTC in the context of cloud, right? What are the key advantages that we get for you as developers? Now in the title, you can see that I've used the word cognitive. Anybody out here know about cognitive computing, cognitive solutions? IBM? Watson? Okay. So cognitive is something that it's pretty near and dear to us in IBM, because if you look at the Forbes report, Jason Gartner reports, they clearly say the next era is going to belong to the human and the machine interactions, right? That means you need to learn a lot. You need to derive a lot from both structured and unstructured data and then make some meaningful insights of it, right? So I'll be talking about WebRTC in the context of cognitive as well, right? Now before we get on to the cloud aspects, I just want to spend a minute or two telling you about the complexities that are there under the covers from a WebRTC standpoint of view. We saw some of the things that some of the speakers talked, but let's see what are they. Now when you're building your WebRTC solution, let's think that it's a known fact that if you want to build a demo, it's quite simple, right? But if you think about taking the same demo and making it as production ready, do you think it works? But as developers, we really don't look into that space at all, right? We leave it to the operations folks. We leave it to them to say that you handle the non-functional aspects. My job is to just write the application. But things are changing. We are talking about the DevOps model. We are talking about agile aspect over here. We want to ensure what I prepare on my desktop should work as is on the production box as well, right? Now let's look at some of the complexities that are there under the covers. We saw about signaling that's been talked about. We know signaling enables a peer-to-peer communication. It enables you to have some control messages, security, initial handshakes. All those things are provided by your signaling infrastructure. Now as developers, do you really want to spend time to understand that? Is that our job? Probably not, right? We want to ensure we stick on to our application development. We want the infrastructure to be available as is. Now whether I work on my desktop or I put on my production box, I should really not care about, right? That's the kind of things that we are talking about. Talking about federation, you really don't have to, as a developer, I really don't want to think about what are the open telephonic APIs that's there. I really don't want to think about it. You need to handle about it. Now think about the scalability aspect. Think about the high availability aspect. Now you have a peer-to-peer global communication that is happening. You can have your customers logging in from, say, America, connecting all the way to Sydney, to Singapore, all across the world. So you need to enable scalability. Someone was asking a question earlier, I think it was to Badri. They asked, like, can I have 10 or hundreds of customers logging at the same time? Now, how will you take care of scalability? Who should take care of scalability? Is it the developers? Probably not. Is it the operational guys? Then they will come back to you saying that your code is not scaled up to that extent, right? Then you need to go back into the cycle again, right? So this non-functional aspects sometimes affects your business solution. Now think about the networking aspects. I don't want to pick on a sample, but we saw in the morning Vinayak's session on Chris talking. What happened over there? There was a network latency that kicked in, right? Now when such a thing happens, even if you have built one of the most beautiful WebRTC solution, and if I have a latency problem out there, there's nothing that I can do. Now how do I ensure that's been addressed properly? How do I ensure the firewalls are taken care properly, right? as a developer, again, I really don't want to think about it at all, right? Now, media servers, we saw just in the previous session, we was talking about so many media servers over there. We know how complex the media servers are, right? Almost all WebRTC solutions today use some or the other sort of media servers, right? It could be for recording, it could be for playback, and you need to also worry about the federal regulations, right? We saw what in the previous session. You need to be aware of all those things. Now, is the developer responsible for all those things? Which media server should you be taking? A whole load of open source media servers, right? Now, that's again not a developer's problem. And if you are building on-prem, you need to think about all those things for yourself. Now, whether it's you as a developer, whether it's your operational guys, or whether it's your CTO, everybody has to be involved, right? And what does that mean? You spend a lot of time on operational activities rather than building solutions that drives your business, right? It's no longer the cost, right? Your company can afford the cost. That's not the problem. But it's time to value, right? It's time to market. It's the business value that you need to drive quickly, right? So when you think about building solutions on-prem, now these are some of the challenges invariably either you as a developer must know how to address it, or your hierarchy, your CTOs, your operation guys must and should address it, right? Now that's a challenge. Now when we see this as a challenge at IBM, we felt this is a space that we really want to enable the developers to quickly build solutions so that the underlying complexities are totally abstracted. And hence, I talk about the cloud, right? Now, as I said, cloud is no longer the case of cost, right? 3 years back, if you ask me, while we were trying to define the definition of cloud, we said that cloud is a place where you can think about cost reduction, but it's no longer the case, right? Now, it's an era where the business value needs to be derived out of it. Now, cloud for me is a space where I can achieve my business value. Cloud provides me with all those platforms that enables me or developers as you, right, to ensure you can quickly build prototypes, ensure that these applications that you're building are actually production ready. They're no longer just a desktop application that you're building, right? I had that problem earlier because if I want to build an application, I had to think about the backend runtimes. I had to get my application servers, I need to get my messaging, I need to get my database, all those things were a problem for me. And that used to take a lot of time, right? But with the cloud coming in, what's one of the prime advantage that I get? Not just the business value or the cost aspects. Lot more players are coming in and day out. Today you will see a media server. Tomorrow somebody else will come with a much more sophisticated, performant, lesser cost media server. You should be able to shift it automatically, right? Now that is where the cloud brings a lot of solution. And that's where we feel that we need to provide a platform for all those developers out there who are building real-time WebRTC solutions, an easy way of handling. And hence you can see a whole lot of services out there, right? Right from signaling infrastructure, including the media servers, the RTC gateways we are talking about, call queues, registries. Now these can be built by yourself, some of them, right? It's not a big deal to build a registry, right? Or a call queue implementation, that's not a big deal. But still, is that something that you really want to do? From an endpoint standpoint of your customer, he's not going to be bothered about it, isn't it? He's really not bothered as long as you give him that particular capability, right? That's where we provide them as services. So cloud now becomes a platform for you to use any sort of services that are available with ease and then evaluate, right? It's not just the WebRTC solutions or the services we are talking about. Think about those storages that you need, right? Think about the asynchronous communication. So you want to do some pub/sub activities for your signaling in the WebRTC solution, right? You need a very strong, either an open source MQTT broker over there or some proprietary MQTT broker. So you need to be accessing that, right? Think about cognitive, right? I just want to spend a minute about the cognitive aspect. I will show in the demo about some of this cognitive aspect though. But think about how you can derive insights based on the interactions that the consumer and the agents are doing, right? Think about how you build a web portal for patients and a doctor, right? We saw healthcare was one of the things. So if a patient logs in, instead of having a call center guy picking up and asking, think if there is a solution that starts answering. It can understand the patient's needs, maybe based on his social needs or based on his previous history, and starts suggesting certain things, right? And then routes him to a proper channel, right? That's cognitive. You're learning and applying those particular thoughts. All this while you did not have access for that. If you had to build your own cognitive solutions, it's the most expensive aspect. Think about the hardware infrastructure. Think about the algorithms. But now with a single API click, you can embed that cognitive into a WebRTC solution, right? Then comes the foundational services that we talk about. Your runtimes, where it has to run, right? Dockers is becoming one of the most popular tools that you can use, right? Right from your development all to the production, you can ensure you can just containerize it and then deploy it. You have a Java runtimes, you have load balancing, all those things now are given to you as simple, accessible from a cloud standpoint, right? So that's where we see that cloud is definitely a good starting point for you to now experiment, develop, and then deploy as well, right? I'll show you a quick demo on that. But before that, we saw in the previous sessions also the mention of SDKs, right? Now, these SDKs are one of the key important aspect of your WebRTC development. You need to choose the right SDK. Now, when you choose the right SDK, you can see the amount of things that you need to be aware of. It needs to be open, it needs to be extensible, right? Now, if you want to enhance some of your, say, signaling instance on the server side, your SDK should support it, right? It should be open so that all of you can also contribute into the SDK as well. So there should be no vendor locking, right? So that's what we are talking about. And cloud is a place that provides you with that opportunity. You can choose any of these SDKs based on their qualities that they give in simple API terms, okay? Now, let me quickly show you a demo. Now, what this demo is all about, I hope the internet now works for me. So, demo is a very omni-channel or a portal that we have prepared. So, I will have a patient who will log in, and whatever the request comes, it goes to WebSphere Liberty, where my RTCOM solution is running, the SIP servlet is running. Then it forwards that particular request to Watson, which is our cognitive solution running in the cloud. Now, Watson makes certain decisions based on the questions that I'm going to ask, and then decide and answer some questions as well, and then route it to some of the agents. It could be a doctor, it could be an insurance agent, or whoever is it, right, who have logged in. And we can see that real-time interactions happening. So what I'll be doing is, I'll be just running it on my browser all this while. So let me just quickly show you how it works from a demo standpoint of view. Okay, so what you see over here is the same portal that I was talking about. And you can see that I'm just entering the doctor name, right? So he's entering as a doctor, and you can see a screen, which is a common screen where doctors, insurance, pharmacy, everybody could be there. So you can just choose that I want to be a doctor, and so that's where the doctor will be now logging in. You can see that, and is waiting for patients. So that means he is online waiting for some patients to come in. So you can see one more user who is logging in. Now, he is going to click on Get Help. When you click on Get Help, now this is where the Watson is coming into picture. So let me just, sorry, a second, pause this. So I'll do that. So what you see over here is this is a Watson dialogue service, right? Now he is enabling a question and an answer for you. So there is no human intervention at this particular point, because the Watson is fed with all those specific intelligence, right? Now, based on the data, he is now going to derive out what's the kind of questions that you need to ask. Now, let's see what he is doing. So the patient is asking that, what can you help me with, right? And send. So the Watson immediately replies that this is a portal where I can help you with insurance, pharmaceuticals, as well as medical aspects. So I asked, what do you want me to help you with? So that's still Watson. He says, I'm having a back pain, is hurting, right? And then he asks, what is the amount of pain? When you say 10, he says that you're really having some bad pain. Let me then send you to a doctor, right? Now what you see over here is, now a doctor sees all the history. And by the way, he is our WebRTC architect. So he is the one who created this demo for us. So now you can see that he is now able to see the complete history and then decide what needs to be. So it's a real-time communication now that is being set up between the doctor and the patient to work with, right? So we saw that this was all built using, or this entire application is running on Bluemix. So how many of you know Bluemix, IBM Bluemix, right? It's a platform as a service, right, which provides you with all these capabilities, what I'm talking. In less than 5 minutes, you can actually build your application from scratch, deploy it, test it, as though you're testing in a production environment, right? That's the beauty about it. So this is the Bluemix dashboard, what you're seeing, right? Okay, so I think I'm already into my 20 minutes, so let me quickly end it. So these were the demo components. So as you can see, okay. So as you can see, these are all the components that we have used. Now another interesting aspect of cloud is the amount of diversity it brings you from the programming model aspect, from the operating system aspects, from the protocols aspect, right? Now you can see over here, I'm using WebSphere Liberty, which is a Java runtime. Then I'm using a Node.js MQTT broker. Then I'm using IBM Bluemix, which is a platform, putting all these things within a container called as Docker, and then running in a container service. So that's the power that you get. You're a Java developer, so be it, you go and implement it. Somebody else in your organization is good at Node.js, you can just integrate both of them, right? So that's the kind of power the cloud brings to you with such platform as a service, right, from a WebRTC standpoint of view. Now again, there are a whole lot of slides, which I think you will get access to that. RTCOM is the open client SDK for WebRTC that we have developed. So it has the base Java libraries along with an Angular RTCOM component as well. So you can use that Angular JS because it gives you a rich UI widgets in order to develop your Angular applications. If you don't need it, you can still use the base Java libraries in order to build your WebRTC solutions, right? Whole lot of solutions, examples, samples, everything is there in the web page that I'm going to show. And this is what the architecture I talked about. So you can see on the right side, we have the RTCOM JS, and over that, the Angular RTCOM. So either you can use Angular or the non-Angular aspect. So this is the landing page. So where you can see to Angular rtcom.wasdevdevelopers.ibm.com. So you can go there, you can just download the Node.js, you can just download the MQTT broker, and within 5 minutes, you should have your WebRTC applications up and running, right? So that's the simplicity in which we really wanted to enable the developers, right? So hiding the entire complexities of what's happening under the covers. Not just from a development standpoint of view, but from a testing standpoint of view, from an integration standpoint of view, and from a deployment standpoint of view, all of them which are as close to the production, right? So that's all I had to share with you on how we can enable you to write some really quick applications on WebRTC using some of the technologies that I showed.
Okay, we have.
Okay. Thank you.